Okay. All right. I think we're on. And welcome everybody to Dessert and a Movie. It's October 16th. They harvested the soybeans today. What's new in your world? Not only is it dark, there's dust everywhere, but it's good to see you all. Thank you for being here. Uh, we just watched a pretty intense movie. There was a lot going on, and I'm really thrilled to have Gabe Lewis O'Connor here with us. He uh, was conducting a class choir at KU. He works there, and he told them to just go to the end of the song, and they'd be fine. And he left early. So, thank you, Gabe, for joining us and leaving the choir on their own. I'm sure they did fine. Before we start, I always like to shout out to Capital Federal. You'll be thrilled to know, I hope, that we recently applied for another 2-year grant from them, and they very graciously accepted. So we thank Capital Federal. If you bank there, go in and tell them you appreciate it. Even if you don't, go by and say, hey, I don't bank here, but I love the way you support Retroactive. So thank you for doing that. And also, we're always indebted to the Katzman, Sharon, and David for their um, financial support with a trust fund that helps us out as well. So we got another 2 years to get around and have more retroactive activities, and we're really excited. And it's really nice to see you tonight. I'm gonna ask Gabe. Here's somebody I'll let him in. I'm gonna ask Gabe. Gabe, do you want to take questions as we go, or do you prefer if people use the chat box?
Oh, just questions as we go. I'm as
All right, all
informal
right.
as it comes. Yeah.
Okay, so just shout them out. So we'll do them that way. Um, I wanted to ask you first, what are you having for dessert? Is anybody going to confess? I remember probably the uh, best one I ever heard was somebody was having some kind of chocolate pear pie, but
I,
anybody having dessert tonight?
I just had a chocolate bar, no
That's
pie.
that's lovely. Cadbury, I hope. They're the best.
No.
I'm having a cup of water.
That very thoughtful. Anybody else having dessert want to talk about their dessert?
We had some really nice cannellonis from Maselli's that was a pumpkin spice and chocolate combination. Really delicious.
Wow. Yeah, it's pumpkin spice time. That's for sure. I'm going to show you my dessert. I didn't eat it yet. This, believe it or not, is from the Shocky Pumpkin Patch. When they first got started, the mom had typed up a recipe book, which I bought for a huge amount of money, probably 50 cents. This is a pumpkin coconut walnut cake with cream cheese frosting. It it should be against the law. It's pretty good. So I'd be glad to share the recipe. Let me know if you want to have it. And we should get started talking about the film. We always do our hands, did you like it? It was Magnificence 5. One is like, nah, wasn't my idea. So if you just want to wave at me what you thought of the, well, we got a thumbs down, a 2, a 3, a 5, a couple of 5s. Okay, so the 4 from Gabe. So everybody is not on the same page, but we got one actual pan from it, so that's good. So we want to hear about that. Tell us something that maybe if you feel like it right now, something that you learned, something that stuck out in your mind, something that touched your heart. Any quick comment you'd like to make before we hear from Gabe? Yes, Kay.
I thought it was really great that they had Oliver Sacks talk because he's a fantastic. I'm not don't know if he's still alive or not, but he was a fantastic neurologist, brain expert, and he was
Uh-huh.
a champion of music therapy. So I think that was great that they had him.
Yes, that was really, really interesting. Anybody else want to share something? I could ask something that, yes.
I was really amazed how these people just came alive when they heard familiar music. I'd heard that this happens, but to see it on the screen, I was just astounded.
It was very amazing. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Okay, I'm wondering, well, would you like to share what you didn't like about it, Suzanne? It's always good to hear the thumbs up or the not thumbs up.
I am early diagnosis Alzheimer's.
Okay,
And that movie is 11 years old.
right,
And right now is the best time to have cognitive disorder because
right.
the scientists are going crazy with all of their research. And they're not paying attention to big pharma, who now
Mhm.
rules the healthcare system. And there's a book that came out last year called Doctors, and it's all about the fraud that happened with regards to amyloid plaque is the reason. And
Okay.
billions of dollars have been spent on trying to find the amyloid plaque, and all it does is ends up a little bit of a tip, and then you end up with decline and brain bleeds and all kinds of problems. And so
Okay.
Dr. Bredesen has a great program right now. But here in Kansas, if I don't know if you can see this,
I can see it. Yes.
Dr. Dr. Sanderson she's been doing a care program, and in Wichita, there is a memory care facility, and I can't tell you the name, but they are having incredible experience of stopping and reversing Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this was good to see how that could help, but it's
Yeah.
not the answer.
No, it's not the answer. And I agree with you. And also it is 11 years old. And I'm thinking a lot of things have changed since then. I know we did have the woman from the KU Center for Research, Alzheimer's Research. She did a 4-part thing for us last January, and she said, quite frankly, she's surprised that it's not cured yet because they're right on the cusp. Any minute they'll have an idea. At least that was her thought. And so, it's all good. It's all looking up. I think for 11 years ago, this was a intriguing idea, and I do think that the narration said that the doctor, who was so wonderful, that was in the nursing home and talking about medication, he said that we can medicate people, we can keep them alive, but we can't bring out their spark, and that was what he liked about the film. So anyway,
I had another.
I loved the black man, the first guy. He
Yeah.
was, I just loved that man. He was so much fun watching him, how energized he got from,
yeah,
it was great.
yeah, and his daughter that said he sang all the time and he loved music. So, he got into it. I loved a lot of it, quite a lot. Honestly, I might have been a 6, just because I love to see that kind of joy and healing. So,
Another comment.
sure.
As a music therapist, of course, I believed very much in using music, but what astounded me is they weren't using all the things they could use to help relate to these people. They weren't using art, they weren't using movement, they weren't using exercise, they
Mhm.
weren't using any of they weren't using dance, they weren't using any games, all these things you can use with people. I just thought, sure, I mean, my experience of some of the care homes I've been to, they have all these programs going on, and there was
Right.
nothing going on in that place. So that part to me was kind of sad.
Yeah, that was sad, and I have no experience except a dear friend of mine. I take her to a group every Tuesday. She spends 4 hours, and when I get there, they're throwing a balloon, trying to keep the
Yeah.
balloon up.
Right.
They're doing all kinds of activities, making things, playing games. So they're very active. So I know that's a big part of it. I think it's time to hear about from Gabe because I'm sure he's got something important to say. Um, and this is Gabe Lewis O'Connor. We share Lewis. There's a story there, but I won't go into it. We are related somehow. But he is currently the director of the Lawrence Children's Choir. He's also working at KU. He knows what he's been doing. He also has had a career singing with Chanticleer. I don't know about that. Maybe he'll tell us a little bit about that. So he's just been singing since he was a knee high to a grasshopper. And when they did at LHS, they did The Sound of Music, and our daughter Liz was the big nun. She got to sing Climb Every Mountain. Gabe was in that production. I think he was in 5th grade at the time. Were you Kurt?
Whoever the youngest one is, yeah.
Oh, the youngest one. All right. Well, let's hear from Gabe. He'll tell us a little bit about music. I've just got to say that the power of music, I love music personally. I have it on all the time. I'm listening to music. I think it touched me so. The flute player, people feeling things, but let's let Gabe weigh in because I know he's prepared a nice chit chat for us, and we're grateful to have you here, Gabe. Thank you for being with us.
Of course, yeah. Well, and I will say first that I do not profess to be an expert in this
No.
particular field, but just having been around music as much, and then I would like to share and I would like to hear some stories of everybody that I imagine perhaps some people have had. I had a pretty eye-opening experience myself last year. So here at KU, my official title is the Associate Director of Choral Activities. And as such, I direct 2 choirs, one of which is singing right now above me.
Without you.
Without me, yes, we have incredible graduate students. And the other is a group of tenor bass singers, what we would have used to call men's ensemble, but it is not exclusively men anymore.
Okay.
And so we call it a low voice or tenor bass ensemble. And that group last year was sort of organized by one of our singers who is a music therapy student to go
Okay.
to Bridgehaven here in Lawrence, which is one of the memory care facilities in Lawrence. And I'll dig into that more later, but the short version is that I feel like I have seen firsthand what this movie sort of captured so brilliantly.
Okay.
And I imagine that I am not alone in that. So I also have some other stories, perhaps that you've heard or perhaps that you haven't, about actually, interestingly, one at least extremely famous composer that it was hypothesized that he himself actually was experiencing some form of memory loss in his life and how that translated, interestingly, to his compositions. So, as a performer and kind of in the academic sphere, though I would not call myself an academic, there are some interesting vantage points, other ways to kind of glimpse this same primary point that the movie made, which I think is extremely compelling.
Yes, sounds great. Well, you want to start with a little bit of your background? Tell us a little bit about what's it like to be in Chanticleer. We're all
Sure.
wondering.
Yeah. So, yes. So, like my Aunt Laurel said, I have been singing for a long time. I started singing actually with the Lawrence Children's Choir when I was in 6th grade. And because there was a girl that I thought was cute and I had a crush on, and she sang in the group. I'm just being very honest here. And she
That's
was
a
like,
Lewis for you, by the
yeah,
way.
exactly. And she was like, you should try out. And I was like, I will do anything that you say. And that's what got me singing. And so that was kind of the beginning of the end. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can be social and make music at the same time. This is way better than playing piano. I started singing in the children's choir, and I just didn't stop essentially. So really started to kind of hone in middle school and high school. Um, got my undergraduate degree at Lawrence University, where they have a conservatory of music that's in Wisconsin. Got a bachelor's of music and vocal performance. Lived abroad for a while. Came back and did 1 year of a master's at UMKC, and then during that year auditioned for the professional ensemble Chanticleer, which is a 12-voice, all-male vocal ensemble that is an a cappella group without a director, based in San Francisco, and was lucky enough to get in and do that for 4 seasons. Um, and I still sometimes can't believe it. So that allowed this kid, this country bumpkin from Kansas, to travel all over the world. So I, while I was with them, performed about 500 concerts and all over the world, and did recording projects, and you know met people I shouldn't meet and sang with people I shouldn't be able to sing with, and um, it was incredible. And then came back to the Midwest and got both a master's and doctorate in choral conducting, and here I am. So
Here we are. Here
yeah.
we are. Great. Okay, well, let's hear some of your stories about, and if anybody has any questions about anything so far. Okay, we're all ears, it sounds like.
Awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a treat. And again, I will say almost everything that I share will be either anecdotal or some things that um, I have learned along the way through a scientific lens, but things that are kind of unbelievable to me. And some of these things were sort of either directly or in passing addressed in the movie, which I think is incredible. One of the things actually that I learned recently that I think is phenomenal, and it speaks to the kind of basic or almost visceral connection that I think music helps us make. Um, there were some studies that were done recently that found that humans, and I think we know this again, sort of uh, experientially, but humans, if they are in a place for long enough together, their bodies actually try to sync up. So unintentionally, if you are in a room with people in a conscious way for long enough, your heartbeats will start to synchronize and your breathing will start to synchronize. Uh,
Mm.
and outside of our conscious control, um, which which I think is incredible and speaks to what I think we saw in the movie, which was, okay, there is something so deep happening, or like they talked about that music is stimulating so many parts of the brain uh, at one time that it gets to sort of some core, um, some core place in us as humans. Um, but I had not until recently learned that was actually studied from a like an electromagnetic standpoint, essentially. Um, but I think is sort of further proof of, well, then yes, if you're taking that and being conscious through a production, let's say, of sound, of making sounds together, I think it's like why some of the ancient traditions will do chanting and similar things. Well, it's without getting too woo-woo, I think it becomes vibrational in a way.
Oh, okay.
At a physics level, it does.
Okay.
Um, so I think that was one thing that I learned recently that I was like, oh, well, it substantiates some of the things that they're saying. Like, okay, well, if music lives in the brain stem, that's so basic in terms of the whole kind of cognitive picture, that it would make sense that you could tap into that. Um, and also, I sang with a gentleman who used to tell people all the time, how many things can you do that involve all of your senses?
Hmm.
And they are fairly basic things, if you catch my drift.
Mhm.
And one of them is making music.
Right.
Um, Singing, often I'm drawn to it because it is sort of the most basic form, because we are the instruments. We don't need anything
Right.
special. Uh,
Right.
we have it all. And I am very much in the camp that everyone can sing. So,
Mhm. That is fascinating, that everyone can sing, and I know I enjoy singing. Some people say they can't sing. I have a few friends who say, "Oh no, I can't sing. No, you go ahead. I don't want to sing." But you're saying that's not true.
well, I think if you look at this from my wife is a physician, so we talk about this actually quite a bit. Um, it is inseparable, I think, the body and the mind.
Mhm.
She's a big proponent of saying, well, health is health. It's not physical health and mental health. It is health. And
Mhm.
likewise, I would say, well, think about your health and how much your mind can affect your physical health.
Yes.
I would argue how much your mind can affect whether or not you use your body for singing or not, for
Right.
making music. Um, so I often find those people as a beautiful challenge, and say, all right, well, let's not have a singing lesson. Tell me
Right.
some stories, and it kind of goes back to what this movie is about. How do we tap into kind of where music has hit us fundamentally? And I think big moments in life, you can often call up what things smelled like, or where you were physically, or what things you were hearing at a time,
Right.
and so I think everybody has those, and often it's just kind of breaking through. I mean, there was a quote in here like humans are like an egg with self inside. I loved that concept of,
Uh-huh.
well, what can you do to help that break
Break out.
out?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's, in short, I think that's true with singing. I think we can build barriers for ourselves mentally in making music, but I feel it's innate. I feel like it's fundamental. So,
Well, they did say when you said when we're together, we tend to begin to breathe the same and our heartbeats align. I found it interesting, of course, in the womb, they mentioned that at 22 days, all these random cells kind of come together and start to just beat together at 22 days. I mean,
right,
what is that?
right,
Like, what?
right, right.
What is that? And then I love the part with Bobby McFerrin standing up, boom, 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 boom. And he goes bum, 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 bum. It was just, and everybody knew. Everybody knew without knowing. And
Right.
that is the power of music. And I did like the quote that music calls to the whole person, as you mentioned. And they called it the quickening art.
Hmm.
And that's true. I'm a weeper. What can I say? Gosh, that was a good pie. I'm sorry, I'm easy. And music really touches me and moves me. Suzanne has her hand up.
First of all, Gabe, is your wife Dr. Poole?
It is in fact true. That is my
She,
wife.
she is saving my life.
Oh, well,
She
yeah.
is curing my Alzheimer's.
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
grateful to her. I wanted to say that when women live together, their menses starts to coordinate at the same time.
Yes.
And I wanted to say that when we have, our hearing starts really, really early in utero. And I think that sometimes that beat of the drum, that it takes us back to being babies in utero. When we're at the ocean and we hear it coming in and out, it's our mother's blood blood,
Yeah.
you know, back and forth. And
Right.
I think music, sound is phenomenal. Humming produces nitric oxide that is really good for your brain and good for your cognition. So that's two things you can do at the same time that causes something else to happen.
That's fascinating. Yeah, the heartbeat. They did mention something about that even a baby uh, knows its mother's voice, and when they're born, their cries are along the cadence of the mother's speech. Um, yeah, I know we like to think we're unique and everything, but I'm afraid we're all in this together, folks. I think we're one thing, and I think that's absolutely gorgeous. And I love you all. So keep up the good work.
I have another little nerdy thing, and it goes along,
Oh,
Susan,
good.
with with what you were saying. First, Suzanne, your words about yeah, Lauren are extremely kind, and it's fun to hear about her work because, of course, she can't tell me specifically about her work because it's illegal. So that it's nice to hear from the source.
So now she can talk all about me. I don't
Yes,
care.
yes,
I
right.
don't believe in HIPAA. Tell her.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, she does, so she's a rule follower. One thing that I love, and I was actually working, I teach also voice lessons and conducting lessons at KU, and I was working with one of my conducting students on a piece uh, by the early music composer William Byrd, a very famous English composer. But all early music, um, it looked different, it was written differently, and I don't know how many of you read music, but often when you get a piece of music, it will say in the upper left-hand corner, well, a quarter note equals a number.
Right.
And that's the tempo marking. That's how fast the piece is supposed to go. Well, early music doesn't have those. They don't, that doesn't exist. That was a modern concept. And so we don't know how fast or slow those pieces are supposed to go. But the accepted wisdom is that they are all of the tempos are based on the
Right.
heartbeat.
I wondered.
So we generally say that a quarter note equals 60 beats a minute in early music. Now, it can be multiples of that. Let's say it's a really racy madrigal and you're talking about, whoo, some spicy stuff. Well, maybe it's 120. It's double that, right? But for this particular piece that we were working on, the student said, well, how do I know how fast to take it, how slow to take it? And I said, well, find your pulse.
Mhm.
That's the quarter note, you know?
That's
So
amazing.
so even, it's so fundamental, and I think it is so
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
basic to music that's kind of where it all started.
That is fascinating. Yeah, and we are all one thing and we all understand music and I was just thinking when my daughter, our oldest daughter was a baby, but toddling, maybe 13 months, and her cousin, who was about 15 months, they came to visit. So here's these two toddlers moving around. And for some reason, one of the parents, we were young and we didn't, anyway, somebody started uh, hitting a little drum, or it was a squeak toy. And somebody squeaked, bum, ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum, bum. And I want you to know, suddenly these little kids, and they were just standing on the couch, they started to, they were going bum, ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum, bum. And we all thought it was darling. And truth be told, I'm a toe tapper. I move around. So yeah, and the moving with the music would be really important. I was wondering if everybody, I noticed at the end of the film that the wonderful guy, what a way to retire. You know, I'm retired now. I think I'll go to nursing homes and give everybody an iPod. Wow, pretty amazing. But that's another story. He asked everybody, he would start by asking them, what is your favorite song? So I wonder if everybody would like to say, what is your favorite song? Which is, for me, it's as hard as what is your favorite ice cream? But what's your favorite song? Would you share that with us? Anyone?
I'll share.
Good.
I was a freshman in high school and I only liked the current music. And I was at a sleepover and my friend's brother, who was a senior, a friend of his came and it was like 6 or 7 in the morning and this guy started playing Claire de Lune. So
Okay.
it's not a song, but it's an instrumental. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, that totally flipped me. I started to become interested in lots of music.
Yeah.
So Claire de Lune hits my heart.
Yeah. And I love the women and the couple, how lucky they were that he kept his wife at home and she played the piano.
Yeah,
And she had been a pianist.
yeah.
And so she was playing the piano. I thought that was really dear. I love Claire de Lune too.
Ah, and the little boy who was the conductor.
Oh my gosh.
He
What did
was
you
a-
think of that, Gabe?
He was a better conductor than I am.
Well, he was a lot cuter.
Yeah, well, that's not difficult.
No, that was astounding. I mean, and that music coming, he couldn't wait. Oh, dun, 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 you know.
It's interesting that that moment in the movie reminded me of a story that my mentor, my primary teacher, told me, which is that he did a similar thing as a child, where
Okay.
he got up in front of his family with some orchestra program on the TV, and he stood in front of the TV facing his family and conducted. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and he said that that was in his mind when he knew that he wanted to be a conductor. And but that was like that moment in the movie was like the incarnation of that story where I was like, oh my gosh, that's Dr. Bodie as a
Yeah.
child conducting, you know?
Yeah, that was wonderful. He was very excited. I could tell. Yeah. Oh yeah. Too late. He's a musician for sure. Yeah. Hold the ponies, just don't be bringing them out. Don't go hunting. Not going. He wants to listen to music. Any other favorite songs or remembrances of music? Yeah, Jill.
I just can't sit still if somebody's playing that song, Dance With Me on.
Okay.
I don't remember who did that, but it was
Uh-huh.
Doobie Brothers or somebody, and it's just, light and very positive. And
Uh-huh.
You know what
I
it
have
is.
another question though for everybody. Does everybody have music playing in their head all the time? I do. I mean, I can't, every time I think, oh, it's me, oh, I'm doing this, I've never known not to have something playing in my head in the background. And I just
Yeah.
wondered if that was a normal thing.
I have that. They call it an earworm, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Does anybody else have troubles with that?
yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah, it's most interesting, particularly when I'm mowing. I've got 3 acres to mow out here, so I got it going on. And sometimes I'll get stuck on some song and it's just playing, but it's stuck. It just keeps going. I mean, maybe just a phrase. You're just too good to be true. I take my eyes off of you. I'm driving along, I'm in a zone, It really, and it could be any song. It could be a hymn. It's terrifying. I totally have that. Thank you. Any other favorite songs?
I love Phil Collins and especially In the Air Tonight. It's
Oh,
got a
yeah.
haunting drum
Yeah.
background and then a drum solo in the middle, but the words are mysterious and have never been explained.
That's so true. This is kind of just emotional too, but I love all kinds of music, but whenever I hear Taking Care of Business, my husband, that was his karaoke classic. And He was doing it once, and when he gets workout, and our two little granddaughters got down and they were doing push-ups, and we thought, "Oh, okay." But that's a very dear one to me, and because he sang that so well. He was in a rock and roll band when he was in high school, so he never got over that. He was rocking all the way. Um, but Claire de Lune, similarly, oh my gosh, when I was a child, I read Bridie of the Grand Canyon by Marguerite Henry about a little donkey. Loved it, got crazy about it, got hold of the Grand Canyon Suite on Columbia. My mother was a member of the Columbia Record Club. And I asked if she'd get that for me, and I listened to that all the time. Dum, bum, 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 bum. I don't know. That was my beginning. And then I played classical music all the time. And my parents were, doing 40s music, but they allowed me to listen to it. Any other favorite songs? Kay, could you respond since you do music therapy? Now, KU is the only place that I've heard of that actually offers a degree in music therapy. Is
Oh,
that correct?
there's quite a few
There's
places in
more?
the country. I
Okay.
went to UMKC.
Okay.
And I did go to KU also, but there's quite a few places in the country that have music therapy degrees. And I worked with children and adolescents, and then later I worked with people in hospice.
Mhm.
Very different scenarios for sure. Right.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
my favorite songs is called the Riddle Song, which is a song I sang to my children. It's I gave my love a cherry. Have any of you
Yes.
heard that? And then that melody was used later in The 12th of Never, which is a love song.
Right.
And that was a favorite of my husband and mine. We had a friend sing that at our wedding. So that melody kind of sticks with me really very nicely. I love it.
Mhm. Anyone else want to tell us their favorite song?
I'm probably I'm quite partial to almost any song from Fleetwood Mac's Rumors album.
Okay.
Just takes me right back to favorite time in my life,
Right.
touring in Europe and hearing that song.
Uh-huh.
That and Smetana's uh well, it's after the Blue Danube. I'm trying to remember or the Danube River. I can't remember the Czech name for it right offhand, but they played that a lot while we were, in a bus touring in Europe when I was 20, and it was like looking out the window at the, roaring stream of the Danube because it wasn't that large at that point, and it was just, beautiful. So
Mhm. Yeah, music just takes us in so many places. And maybe to think a little bit about the music therapy part of it, or the music, working with the fellow Gil, who was angry. And they would let him listen to his music. It calmed him down. And then the woman, and I can't remember her name, who would struggle so with her feelings. Too much. She was too much.
Oh,
But how touching it was that she loved Ave Maria. First thing she said, the music, when the fellow Sante, I think was his name, played the flute for her, and she had to touch him.
mhm.
Um,
Shelley, that
that was beautiful.
piece is the Moldau.
yeah, Moldau. Thank you.
Moldau.
Moldau
And
Suite.
it by Smetana. It's a very beautiful, beautiful.
It is so
Yeah.
lovely.
Very flowing. Yeah.
I wondered if it was the Moldau. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is beautiful. Da, 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 da. I'm conducting the whole
Oh.
thing. By the way, I had a huge crush on Leonard Bernstein when I was in 8th grade. I loved his concerts for young people, and I bought a book about him at the book fair. And oh boy, And I wanted to be the first chair clarinetist in the New York Philharmonic. But I didn't quite make it, but I adored him. He brought the music so alive to me. Gabe, tell us some more fun stories, or
Well,
why 9 out of 10 Swiss people feel whatever they feel. I don't know.
okay, well, two quick stories. One is that
Sure.
this was actually organized by, and I think I said this, by a music therapy student that was volunteering at Bridgehaven in Lawrence.
Okay.
And he coordinated that our tenor bass ensemble, which is a 50 voice ensemble,
Wow.
go to Bridgehaven and sing. And we just went and we sang carols. And I just printed out some big books of carols. And this will tie into some caroling that a different group did, LCC did with Presbyterian Manor, but we'll get into that. So Bridgehaven, we cram into their dining room area, and I mean it is packed, and just a bunch of primarily college dudes, right? And they're making up harmonies, and many of them, interestingly, don't know many carols.
That's
A
interesting.
gap in their education, right?
Yes.
So some of these carols sounded, I will just be very honest, quite bad. And I was frowning at them. But um, this amazing thing happened. There was a woman there that was wheeled in, and she was holding a doll and was completely disconnected. She was I mean, her whole countenance was shut off. She was down, just holding the doll, not moving at all. And it truly, like the movie, I don't even remember which carol it was, but her entire posture changed, and she sat straight up, and the doll was just in her lap, like she wasn't even holding the doll, and she was just singing. She was just going for it.
Oh,
Um, and that was truly the first time that I had seen what then I saw in the movie, because at that point I hadn't watched this movie, but
uh-huh.
it was stunning to me to see that truly, again, visceral, like physical shift, like I think was evident in the movie a couple of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and interestingly, like you could not understand what she was singing, but it was clear that she was trying to sing the
Yeah.
song that KU Glee was singing. Um, and then when that song was over, she eventually went back to
Yeah.
her original state. But there was something that, I kind of have this
Spark.
vision of like an electrical current, right? That
Yeah.
awakened this human. And it also just some fun. And one other story about this, it was just amazing. The residents were primarily very quiet, not verbal at all when we came in, and even some of the guys were trying to like engage with them, and it was kind of difficult. And we sang, and when we when we finished singing, a woman from the back who I had not noticed was like, she just yelled. She was like, "You all are so cute," just out of nowhere. And all of KU Glee, bless them, like they were just like gay. They just thought that was like the most awesome thing. And then she said, and again, I like she wasn't speaking before. And after we sang, she was like, "You better get out of here quick, or we're gonna lock you in." I was like, you cannot script this stuff, Like it was just like, oh wow, talk about the power of singing, folks. Like
Yeah. The power of music, indeed.
they wanted some boyfriends, and there they were. So it was phenomenal. And the other story I would like to share, kind of to this end, and how deeply music imprints. And I think they were talking a lot about music from an early age, kind of that early era for you.
Uh-huh.
And kind of like you were talking about, right? Like this this experience as a young person that really imprinted. Um, I took LCC, and LCC, part of LCC is called Crescendo, and that is a choir that was started actually by the founder of the children's choir for her father, who was a musician his whole life, was in a retirement home, and he didn't have an outlet. And so she started this choir for adults. Um, and they went and sang at Presbyterian Manor. And here's the fascinating thing. We printed out all of these lyric packets, not the music, but just the words, thinking, okay, well, if we sing the second verse of anything, nobody's going to know it. You know, we want to put the words in their hands. And there were actively members of Presbyterian Manor that were waving off these packets. They were like, uh, we don't need word packets. Are you kidding? Like this, because this music was obviously so fundamentally in them that they were just like, I mean, again, posture change. They're sitting up and they are just singing their faces off. And I mean, they were singing, they like a couple of times we needed to stop and they were like starting the third verse. And it was like, okay, you know. So those sorts of things that I have personally experienced that are just like, this is special, you know. It's unbelievable how deeply, how f- physically we feel you know, that music, those memories from our early days, you know.
Mhm. Does anybody have a memory they'd like to share like that? I about some song that they go right back there?
Um,
Sure.
I, my mom was in memory care back in the mid 2000s, and a woman who was there with her, I would see her at like lunchtime, and I don't know whether it was purely because of dementia, maybe she had also had a stroke or something, but she couldn't speak. She wasn't verbal as far as speaking, but she could sing what she wanted to say. And so she sang everything that, they asked her a question about what she wanted to eat or something like that. She could sing it, but she couldn't speak it. It was
That's
kind of
fascinating.
amazing. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
something about the connection in her brain made that possible.
That is quite amazing. Um, I I would just say that it's not a favorite song of mine, but when I do hear round, round, get around, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around. I am 14 years old. I'm sitting in the back seat of a car being driven by somebody who's 16 years old. The windows are rolled down. It's summer. It's the first time that I'm out with other kids. We're driving around the suburbs of Chicago. The windows are rolled down. It's summer. We're going nowhere in particular. The wind is blowing in. And I have a nondescript feeling of some kind of freedom. I mean, that was just I don't know. I didn't even know what I didn't know when I was 14. Greener than grass even, but I just knew it was like along the lines of Tony, something's coming, something good. If I can wait, I mean, it just was very exciting, but I didn't know why. I get around. I mean, what beautiful music. That really encapsulated that thing, that time. Being a kid, nothing to think about.
One thing that I noticed was like the older people, they would have been in the army, they would have been 70s, maybe 80s,
Right.
and they really loved the swing music.
Yeah.
And then the woman who was, oh, she seemed like she was a younger woman, but as soon as they started playing music from the 60s, 70s, she just couldn't sit still. She was so
Yeah.
cute. So,
Yeah.
so is it our memories from our teenage years when we first had freedom? What,
I think I think they kind of tried to talk to that, and maybe I don't know that I'm pretty sure it's not. It's sort of like, could somebody please tell me what love is? I mean, maybe it's that big, you know? I
Mhm.
mean, there's no exact way to describe it. It's this incredible miracle, but music, yeah, music is like that. It just touches a place in us. And
I like that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
bigger than we are, and it puts us all together, and anyone can understand it. It's most interesting if you get to go to the symphony or the opera or KU Vespers or Jazz Vespers. Let me give a plug for that. We're going to try to get us all there this winter. Um, you could speak any language in the world, but you all understand what you're listening to. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody understands the music.
There's been
Everybody hears it the same way as what I'm trying to say.
there's
It-
been some research that has shown that the music that we hear as teenagers and young adults has the most uh, stays in our memory the most. And so
Uh-huh.
often when we were just trying to help decide what a person's choices were for music, that's what they would turn to a lot. Because just think about if you had teenagers or know any teenagers now, their music is crucial to their identity.
Yeah.
And each era has their own music.
Yeah.
And so there's been some research done with that shows that time period that's really for some reason it just locks into the music processing parts of the brain.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that it seems every generation says the younger generation's music is garbage.
Exactly. Of course.
I know that, oh gosh, I was just little when Elvis came along, but I was taking organ lessons at the time, and I remember my teacher, a male who came to the house, and he was teaching me how to play the organ. He said that guy can't even sing. He just hated him, and I thought he's got a great voice. I thought, but it's just kind of funny. And then the Beatles, oh my goodness. And oh my gosh, and it just goes on and on. And Kiss, oh, what was that? You know,
Right.
but we do think that the younger generation's music is not so hot. And we had it good. We had it
So,
good. Back with a Moody Blues Man. That was where it was.
so growing up in England, I was a young teenager when the Beatles along. I never got to the Beatles concert that came to my town, but I went to a Rolling Stones concert, a free one in Hyde Park with about 80,000 other people. And so the early songs of the Beatles and the early songs of the Rolling Stones are very prominent in my memory, and
Yes.
I'll turn them on at any time.
Yes.
And the Bee Gees also.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, the Bee Gees. What a repertoire. It blows your mind, all the music, all the different kind of music they sang. Of course, and there's another one when you hear what you doing on your back. I gotta move on that one, Jill. You should be dancing, yeah. That one. You just kind of move around in your chair. It's really
And
good.
also regarding the Bee Gees, the famous song that's done with CPR, staying alive, staying alive.
Yeah.
Again, it's to do with the heartbeat, like we started off talking before.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
so true. I want also to mention to Gabe, what about Native American music with the prominence of drums? And the movement and dancing. We've been to a couple of powwows at Haskell, and it's very
Wonderful.
moving to listen to the drums and to see the movement of the
Yes.
Native Americans, especially in their tribal dress. I think it again a thing that pulls people together.
Mhm.
Right. And I think like anything else, it's sort of like what Kay was saying, the more senses you can engage, right? The more directions that you can come at uh, an activity, a feeling of any sort, I think it makes it so much more impactful. And I think if you look at the um, you know, native traditions around the world, you start to see some incredible similarities with all of those different traditions, and much of it has to do with some type of
heartbeat.
percussion, some type of vocalization, singing or chanting or something, and often some sort of a physical movement that accompanies those things.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel like it does sort of hit in a deeper, a deeper place.
Yeah, music is so powerful, and I suppose music isn't exactly a kind of a Halloween or October um, subject, but yet we are moving into the holidays. And I'm going to pull out all 75 of my holiday music CDs and start playing them and have my weepy moments at this carol and my joyful moments at that carol. And that is some of the most powerful music. Um, I've got 3 generations in my family, and every woman said their favorite carol was Silent Night, because one remembered the nuns sang it on Christmas Eve in the orphanage. It's just got that stuff going on. And speaking of that, Kelly Hunt last December came and sang with us for an hour and a half. So we've lined that up again. That'll be coming up in December. A lot of people loved that. Um, we just sang carols, and she played the piano, and
She's fabulous. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
we had a really great time. So, well, I could go on all night, but you know that we've all got to get up in the morning and do something important. I've got a whole acre of black walnuts to pick up. So, Gabe, thanks so much. It's good to see you. Good to hear from you and all your adventures that you've had in music. And I'm glad you found music, or music found you. You're a
Well,
lucky man
hey,
to be
we
able to get paid for what you do. You do it even if you weren't being paid. Thank you,
exactly.
everybody,
How
for
you did
being.
that, but yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being with us, and we'll see you next time, wherever we are. And thanks for being here, and I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places.